Well, I'm Heather Erikson, and full introduction?
Well, let's start with who you're with, and then what your assessments are, and then yes, we can do full introduction.
Okay. So Core Solutions, leadership, training, organizational development, consulting. And I have taken a lot of personality assessments. I'll save that for a moment. DISC, Myers-Briggs, I am a high D with a little bit of an I, or a red and yellow, depending on which one you are taking.
Got it.
And then ENTJ for Myers-Briggs, and then my CliftonStrengths are strategic, arranger, activator, maximizer, and relator. Wow. Yes, it's a lot to remember.
We just need to take a moment to acknowledge all the different assessments and how many there are, right?
We've only scratched the surface
my
with
gosh.
the ones that have been brought up in the room today.
I think churches tend to do the ones that relate you to an animal.
Oh.
So they have like golden retriever or otter. I don't know what they are, right?
Almost all of the assessments that are broken into 4 groups, whether it's animal, color, letter, number, are based on DISC research.
Okay.
Almost all of them do not have their own unique research behind them. They're almost all based on DISC research.
Okay, we'll come back to that too. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now you can give us your full introduction.
Yeah, so Core Solutions, I've spent most of my life in leadership development in different spaces, and about 8 years ago, I had the opportunity to go and get some additional training. I have a master's degree in organizational leadership and learning. And then I got a new certification about 8 years ago, and I said, I want to do this full time. I want to work with individuals, teams, and organizations to help them thrive. And so I launched Core Solutions, and I've been doing that since then.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So first off, I think it's important that we maybe set the terms and make sure we're all on the same page. So first, will you tell us, you said Certified Gallup CliftonStrengths Coach. What does that mean?
Yeah. So I feel like it's fair to go back a little bit further than that. So I first was introduced to CliftonStrengths as an undergrad. I got to take it as a freshman orientation class, and it was cool. It gave me some insights, gave me some words to define, like kind of what Stephanie was saying, my internal motivations, might have been you that's saying that, but just give me some words to describe how I show up in the world, which was cool, especially as an 18-ish-year-old in the world. And then I put it on the shelf and didn't think about it for a really long time until I was in my full-time profession, fast forward like 6 years, and we were looking for a way to grow emotional intelligence. That's really what we were looking for. We were looking for a tool that would help us produce curriculum that would help people grow their emotional intelligence. And so we looked at a lot of different frameworks, a lot of different ways. At the time, emotional intelligence was kind of new on the scene. That was over 20 years ago now. And now we know it pretty well and we use it every day. But really we were looking for self-awareness and self-management. Those were the 2 pillars of emotional intelligence that we were looking to grow. And so my colleague and I had both had this experience with CliftonStrengths. We didn't know the name of it. I said, I did this thing in undergrad and it was kind of cool and we had to take a test and it was really like a lot of questions, but it produced these results, and then we were able to talk about it, and I learned stuff about myself and was able to modify my behavior because of it. And she was like, I did this thing at a conference and I actually got to meet the researcher, which was pretty cool at the time. And it had a red book, it had a red stripe across the top of the book. And I was like, that's the same book. So we bought the facilitator guide and dug into it and learned how to use CliftonStrengths to grow emotional intelligence, primarily with student leaders at the time, because I was in the university setting at the time.
Nice. Okay.
That was a lot of background. I don't know if I actually answered your question though.
So will you just tell me the difference? I mean, I guess give me the elevator pitch for the CliftonStrengths as an assessment.
Yeah. So I love CliftonStrengths. It really is my favorite. I don't want this necessarily to turn into.
Oh, it's okay. I just think we have to have a reference point.
Yes. So CliftonStrengths starts with positive psychology, which again now is very popular. Back 20 years ago. It was new on the scene. And it starts with measuring how people naturally think, feel, and behave in order to have positive results in their lives.
Okay.
The research has been done start to finish 3 times, starting in the early 70s, and then redone several times after that. And it really measures people who have had success in their lives in a very, success is not defined. People get to define if they've had success. So sometimes it's about relational health. Sometimes it's about business health. Sometimes it's about accomplishing their goals in their business themselves or political leaders. So success was self-defined in their study, but then they researched what they do, how they interact with other people, and how they process information in order to come up with the assessment or the framework itself. And there's 34 strengths. So there's 34 different, not labels, but categories that you can have. All humans possess the ability to use all 34 of them. It's just what's most natural and what's innate in our personality and how that shows up in the world. And so most of the time you get your top 5, which is a lot to remember, and there's a lot of depth to each of them.
Okay. All right. I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, that was helpful.
Good.
Okay, so
because I can geek out on them for a long time. So
no, it's okay. I think when we talk about assessment, we also obviously have some folks here who've either done one, but it's been a long time, or haven't done one, and it's important to, I think, set the tone, why we would do one, what the value is. Just really quick, you mentioned that this one is research-based, right? Or evidence-based, and I believe you said DISC is also research-based. Are those the 2 big buckets, or is there?
No, all of them have some research.
Okay.
DISC the research was done primarily in the 1918 is when the research was published for DISC.
Okay.
There's been lots of updates since then. Myers-Briggs, I think, was in the 50s. Does anyone know? Do you know? No, 50s, I think. And then there's lots of other ones that we haven't even named yet that are current research. Enneagram was started in the late 70s and went all the way through the early 2000s. But strengths, I have found that strengths has the most research behind it of the ones that I am familiar with.
Okay, good to know. All right. So the topic for today was high performance, or the science of high performance. These are tools, not toys.
Yeah.
So when you sent me that as your topic for today, can you give me where you were at in your mindset with that topic, what you wanted to accomplish with that topic?
Yeah. So I come across people a lot that are if I start bringing up strengths or DISC, because those are the 2 that I'm certified in, they'll say, oh, I did that once. And they'll even say something like, oh, it was really fun or really interesting. Just like my first experience, I did it as an undergrad, and it was interesting and helpful. But then I put it on the shelf and didn't ever think about it again until it became a tool that I needed to get back off my bookshelf. Really, let's be real. I don't have an actual tool shed. I have books.
So the idea is, doing these once may or may not provide value, but these are something that we should use as a tool. It's not just what's the word I'm looking for? It's not just a, it's not just a thing you do to get entertainment out of it, or, hey, that was fun to do as a team, but we don't ever, revisit it, or.
Right. If that's your outcome that you're looking for, that's okay. I work with a lot of teams that ask me to come in and do a retreat type.
Yes.
And CliftonStrengths is a really attainable, very easy thing to do for that. But it has so much depth. So I told you about my early journey. Then I learned CliftonStrengths. I taught it a lot, but I didn't internalize it. I didn't use it on the daily for myself through all that time. So that was almost 15 years that I really used it. I gave the assessment. I taught a segment on it. We used it in our performance metrics. And so I used it all that time, but I never really internalized it. And honestly, I was just looking for something to do post-grad school. And I was like, oh, I should do this certification. That would be cool. I had no idea. I had no idea what it was going to do for me. So it was crazy expensive. I was working in higher ed. My professional development did not even come close to covering it. And so I went and did the certification, and it opened my eyes to so much more that it can be used for. And at that point, I really internalized what those 5 words mean for me and how I can use them. I came back from that experience, and I had a really awesome employee. We've known each other for a long time. She was in a different role, and things were not meshing. Things were like just not working between the two of us. And we kept trying, and we had good communication, and we had all these different things that we tried. And I was like, you know, we should pull back out our strengths and just have a conversation about our strengths and compare and have this conversation. So using the tool that I had just gone and spent a lot of money learning how to use in my real life. And so we brought that out there without going into too much detail. She had one of the deeper thinking strengths, which is context. And I have strategic, which is a very fast-paced, very high-level thinking theme. And so essentially she was looking for quality, detailed information from me, and I was not giving that to her.
Yeah.
So bringing it back to that emotional intelligence space, I wasn't aware of how I was showing up. I wasn't aware of my own natural tendencies, and I wasn't aware of how that social management was coming across to her because I wasn't giving her what she needed.
Yeah.
And so we agreed at that point in time for me to try to be a little bit more contextual, give her what she needed, and for her, give her permission for her to say, hey, I need more details in order for me to feel good about going forward and taking this project on.
I think we're jumping to maybe what's the takeaway from this or how to implement that. And so I don't want to sit on this for too long because I want to get back to it. Right. But I had the same experience with an employee. She worked for me for a few years. She was ready to move on to something else. And after a year of having another employee and it didn't go well, I took her out for coffee, and I was like, hey, tell me how I am as a leader. Like, what did I not do? What did I do? And she said something along the same lines that she was doing all this work for our clients, but was never involved in any client meeting or client discussion. So she felt really removed from what the goal was or what the objective was, or even from the client and where they're at. And so for me, looking back at, I have to figure out how to serve the people that work for me and give them what they need can be a benefit of doing some of this work. But we'll put a pin in that and we'll come back to it. So other than learning how to meaningfully show up as a leader, why do you think some managers and leaders look to these tools? Is it because it's trendy and it's what's going on, or
possibly yes, yes and
okay,
hopefully.
Yes and.
Well, let's just compare our two experiences.
Yeah.
I had a tool that I was able to point to that's scientific in nature and that had a definitive explanation of how she thinks compared to how I think. And we were able to then use that to cut through some of maybe the trial and error, or maybe just like the awkwardness of like, hey, am I meeting your needs? Am I not meeting your needs? So we had a tool to bring out and use to be more efficient and more effective.
Which the opposite of that, if you've never done one or you do it but you put it on the shelf, is that you don't know how you show up as a leader.
Right.
You don't know how you engage with people and what they need from you, and then you don't have that ability to really provide solid leadership.
Yeah, and maybe you're really self-aware and have done the work, and that's awesome, but it takes a long time.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of brain space, and it takes a lot of just intentionality, which you should have no matter what, whether you're using a tool or not. But the tool helps you cut through some of that and be more effective at it.
Your yes and answer. Like, so yes, they use it as a trendy thing, or it's, it's what's, what people are talking about, or maybe they had a management friend at another company that mentioned it. In your experience, what percentage of organizations or leaders use the tools that way? Like, it's just like the thing, it's the hot item, and then they use it, maybe they apply it a little bit, then it goes on a shelf and they don't use it anymore.
Oh, that's a loaded question.
Good. Those are the good
So let's see. So when I first took my assessment, it was when I took my certification, it was 2017, and only 3 million people had taken it.
Okay.
And the whole time that CliftonStrengths had ever been in existence, 3 million people had taken it. Now 33 million people have taken it.
Okay.
So it is the trendy thing.
Yeah.
And I would say that probably at least half of the people, it's more than half, it's probably up to 75% of the people that I come across say, I did that once.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
See, and that's, I think, what we're getting at is that these are tools, not toys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was just going to throw in there that it comes down to that expertise, that you can take this tool and make it trendy and find out about yourself and your team. And I've been in teams that have taken it. But if you don't have someone there to interpret the data, to help you understand how to use it, then it becomes just a trendy tool that you throw on the shelf.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So the idea is like teams that do it and as a team collectively, but maybe there's not somebody on the team who has the resources or the knowledge or the depth of experience to actually go, okay, here's how we're going to implement it, or here's how we're going to use it. Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah. So expertise for sure. You don't need to know, like at this point, I know CliftonStrengths really well.
Sure.
Like even your little example, my brain goes, "Ooh, I wonder if she had includer in her top 5." So I know them pretty well at this point. I've been using it for over 20 years. But you don't have to have somebody that knows it that well. But you do need to have some sort of plan to put it into action.
Okay.
And there's 2 main ways of any psychometric assessment or personality assessment that you can use it to. You can either use a push or a pull strategy. So you either have it top down, we're going to use this tool, we're going to integrate it into our framework, whether you have 3,000 employees or 3 employees. We're going to do this, we're going to use it really well, and we're going to keep coming back to it. And Gallup has a lot of really great resources. DISC has a lot of really great resources. I'm sure all the other ones do as well.
Yeah.
To keep using it, but you have to make time for it. You have to have a plan. So I have 2 teams right now that are using it really well, and both of them have committed to 5 or more minutes in their monthly team huddle.
Oh, so they're actually like embedding it in the agenda.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It is a bulleted item on their agenda every single month. And so that's one of the biggest strategies is you got to commit time to it.
It's so funny that because we could apply this exact conversation to any tool that leaders
tool.
like.
Absolutely.
Mission statements. I think about mission statements a lot, and people love having a really good mission statement, and then it serves as like your elevator pitch, but then they stop using it. And I think effective leaders are committing time, even though it's going to start to feel redundant, and it's going to start to feel like you're doing it over and over again.
Yeah.
And like, what's the purpose? All right, Dean, jump in.
Yeah.
So when you have it on the agenda like that, what does that look like? What does that 5 minute?
Yeah, let's talk
Yeah,
about.
so
I have to repeat the question really
Yeah,
quick. So
please,
So
yes,
sorry.
thank
So
you.
YouTube.
Okay.
So what does it look like when it's on the agenda? Like, how do you actually do that? Like.
Yeah, so it could be as simple as, how did you use your strengths this week? Like, give me an example.
That's good.
And or it could be I love leading. There's an activity that I adapted, I'll say, because I'm sure that there's other ones that are similar, where we do mission integration. We look at how your personality assessment results, whichever one we're using, helps execute or embody the mission of the organization. So you crosswalk your natural tendencies to the mission of the organization.
If you keep saying things like execute the mission of the organization, I'm going to start saying really corporate-y things like we need to double back and double click on that or whatever. Like, let's not go, let's not.
Just like you, I took on a corporate role
Right,
this
yeah.
quarter,
Yes.
and so I am
It's
like,
really hard to
it's
not.
really hard
Yeah,
not
you
to.
get into
Yeah,
that and you're like,
sorry.
are we even saying words
I
right
know,
now? What
I
is
know.
happening? All right.
Yes,
So
call me on it. if I'm
yeah,
too using
no,
much.
I was just
Yeah,
teasing. So
yeah.
this is actually, that was a really great segue because my question, similar to Dean's, was like, okay, so now we've done it, now what? And I love that feedback of like, let's put it in the agenda, but not just like, Myers-Briggs an agenda, but what's a meaningful question that we could ask that gets people thinking about it, and then also talking about how they've applied it. What did you do well with it this week? Or even what did you not do well with it this week? Like, how did you not use it when you should have?
Yeah.
Right? I think these are really good actionable takeaways that I just did it, corporate stuff. Let's
Actionable
that
takeaways.
creates synergy with your team. So the next question after that was like, you talked about using these tools to fix gaps versus doubling down on what's already working. So let's talk about that. Like, okay, we're putting in the agenda, we're being meaningful. What's the purpose?
Okay.
It's not just we invested time in this, let's keep trying to use it.
So I think I have to talk a little bit about why I love CliftonStrengths again.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
So one of the
We'll have
reasons-
CliftonStrengths ads like running side by side in YouTube because it'll
possible.
identify. Yeah,
It's
like-
possible. So I just thought of like 5 other things that I should probably tell you all. But one of the reasons I love CliftonStrengths so much is because it builds on what you're already naturally good at.
Okay.
And so when we start, our world is it runs in such a deficit model where we're always looking at what we're supposed to be doing. Like, who's to say what we're supposed to be doing? And so when you get your results and you know what you're naturally inclined to think, feel, and behave, then you can use that in new and different ways that you've never thought of before. Which once you get good at that, understanding what's good about you, how you think, feel, and behave, how you were created to show up in this world, then you can then learn to apply those things in new and different ways that grow and close those gaps.
What you said at the beginning of that there's this pressure, maybe it's culturally or, in this country to, be doing what everybody else is doing is essentially what you said, right? Like a comparison or whatever.
Comparison, for sure.
In operating out of a deficit, right? What we should be doing. I think that as parents, that shows up a lot. Like, you're not a good parent unless you're doing this and that. And giving people permission to not be good at things in some ways. You know what I mean? Like, here's what you're good at. Here's where you thrive. Here's how you can interact with other people. And here's maybe what you're not good at, and be okay with that is not something we do well, I think, culturally.
Absolutely. And we also want to be really well-rounded.
Yes.
We want to be good at all the things.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure to do that.
There is, but no matter how hard I try, I'm never going to be like a super touchy-feely person. Like, I love people. I absolutely love people. My whole business.
Oh my gosh, I hugged you when you came in here. I'm really sorry.
No,
I just assumed that was cool.
It's fine. But I wouldn't initiate that with people because it's just not my natural ways of thinking, feeling, and behaving. But I absolutely love people.
Yeah.
And so how does that show up? It shows up in deep connection, authentic connection, productivity. I love helping people be productive. And so have I grown in my empathy? Absolutely.
Okay.
Because my strengths showed me some gaps that I had and some ways that I'm showing up to the world that I wasn't intending. One of my strengths is relator. And so relator really likes authentic, meaningful connection with a small group of people. And so, hey, the space is perfect.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But I unintentionally was putting people off because if I walked into the room and I know you, I'm going to naturally gravitate just to talking with you, and I might put off other people. And so now that I know that about myself, I can be more aware, and when I walk into a room, I can push myself if I'm wanting to go and talk with other people instead of sticking with what's safe and comfortable for me.
I think that's the key there, though, is like if I'm comfortable in this moment doing that, I know that this is how what my default setting is, but it gives you permission to either do it or not. Right. And pulls us out of that deficit and trying to do what everybody else says we should be doing. Yeah. I was curious your thoughts. Okay, so we've talked a lot how like a leader might use this or an organization might use this, but as an individual, my friend Jason here has been self-employed for a while. I was self-employed for like, why would I use this for just me when I don't have a team in that classic sense?
Super great question. It is at its core, it's personal development. So all the examples that I just gave are pretty much ones about me and my own development, regardless of where I'm working or what I'm doing. So it's about growth. I mean, one of your tenets of this gathering is growth, right?
I wouldn't know.
And
I'd have to look at my card. Yeah.
Continuous learning, I think, is what I heard this morning. And so at its core, it is personal development, personal growth and development, because it's about self at the onset. You have to know who you are, how you show up, and how you can modify that in different spaces or to get different outcomes.
So I think that's great. I think treating it as a personal development tool, the thing is, people like me and Jason doesn't mean we're not interacting with individuals, doesn't mean we're not out there, meeting with clients or trying to grab clients or whatever it is. And having it as a personal growth or personal development thing changes the value of the tool.
Yeah.
Right? So there is something to be said. Jason might know. So I keep picking on you and I'm really sorry. Jason might know, like, this is how I tend to show up. And I know that today maybe I'm not full bars, right? Like not operating at 100%. So I know this about me, and it does give you that ability to show up differently, maybe when you're not even feeling like you're up for it.
Yeah. Let's go back to the relator example. For me, as an entrepreneur, I have to really push myself to walk into spaces like this. What was it, like 6 months ago that I first found out about this? And I was like, I had to give myself a pep talk the whole way here to want to even come, because I didn't know anyone here.
Yeah.
And so, but what I found was a really authentic community, and which kept me coming back.
That's actually, I'm gonna clip that out of this and use that to promote Business Brew from now on. Like, that is the best clip I think we could give anybody for it. All right, so if I'm using this as personal development or as a team in a team setting, and it's got in the agenda or whatever, how often should we be taking these? Because it's a snapshot of a moment in time.
It's a really good question. So they all do different things. I can't help but to love CliftonStrengths the most of all the ones I've worked with. But like DISC is really good in big settings. It's really good for generalities. So how often should you be taking it? There's no right answer to that. When you need it, when you have an outcome that you're looking for, whether it is understanding collectively what types of talent and personalities exist in a large organization, maybe DISC is the right one for you. Maybe you're looking for emotional growth and well-being, so maybe Enneagram is better for you. And again, one of the reasons I love CliftonStrengths so much is it hits all of those things. It can hit all of those things. So when you're looking for an outcome is when you should take one.
Got it.
Yeah, or growth.
Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
Isn't part of a lot of these that the strengths that you have are kind of ingrained in you, that over time it's not likely to change a whole lot?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Yeah. So the idea is, maybe there's some traits or things about us that aren't likely to change all that much over time. So is there value in reassessing? Possibly.
So how often should you retake the assessment? I get that question a lot. Gallup's party line has always been that if you take it when you're fully developed as a human, like 24-ish, then it likely 27-ish. Yes. Okay. 27-ish.
That's a lot older than I think I'm prepared to handle.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, brain development is changing for sure. Okay, so 27-ish. Yeah.
I think their actual written is 24, but they've actually started changing it because, let me finish that thought. If you take it around that time frame, it will stay fairly solid.
Oh, okay.
It will stay, that's the core of who you are. And this assessment in particular is meant to measure your core thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
Got it.
And so there's going to be some movement. There's 34 different strengths. So if you take it over time, there's going to be some movement, but probably your top 10.
I was going to say, maybe your primaries stay the same, but some of those other ones
top
change.
10-ish stay the same or kind of move around a little bit. I know personally for me, the first time I took it and the last time I took it, there was almost 20 years in between, and it was almost the same. I had one that changed completely. And then I had one that moved down the list a little bit, but it was almost exactly the same
Let's talk about how not to use these. And I have a story, if we're cool with that, that'll set it up. So I was at a company, big company, right, like Fortune 100 or whatever, and we had an office locally, and the company was sort of pushing that everybody needs to do this. So we actually had a consultant that came into our office, walked us through. It was a disc, I think. So I was, and I mentioned this, I was yellow, red, blue, green.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, so yellow is like outgoing, extrovert. Red is sort of like take charge. Yeah. And then blue is people. You're concerned with people, a lot of empathy. And then green is like numbers and detail oriented. So that was the bottom of the list for me, and that wasn't a shock at that time. But our manager took that tool literally into a meeting and said, "Now you all know how to interact with me. Now you all know how to talk to me." That was the takeaway for our manager.
Make it more comfortable for me.
Right, make it more comfortable for me. That's a really great way to phrase that. So obviously, you can't use it as a system of control, right?
Yeah.
So like, let's talk about that. Like, have you seen people use it incorrectly?
How or have I? Have I? Yes.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Just like that example. I think that's actually one of the pitfalls of utilizing disc, because it really puts you into a box.
Yeah, I felt.
And it says, this is who you are, and that's fine. And rather than like, this is who you are, how do you want to show up?
Oh.
So with me having high D, which is red in your example, like some of those similar traits that I talked about with later, being a little aloof or standoffish or demanding or commanding, those are my natural states of being. Do I want my employees to think that I'm demanding, controlling? Absolutely not.
I don't know. It depends on the industry.
Well,
I think.
yeah. Well, not in the industry. Not because I care about people. Because I want people to be at their best. And if I'm doing all those things, then that's not going to help them be at their best. And so it's not about, one of our tenets when I use these is that they're not labels, and they are in themselves neutral. It's what we do with the personality traits that becomes positive or negative. And that's specifically, I should probably preface, that's specifically a Gallup trait of CliftonStrengths.
I really like you saying this is who you are versus how do you want to show up. I think, and again, we've seen bad leadership. We know that there's a lot of leaders out there that haven't really have a really good grasp of what it means to be a leader and how they can impact people as a leader. They think being and then you see them, they micromanage and they want to keep control. So we know that bad leadership exists and people are going to use these tools wrong. Yeah. But I love this idea that like some of these assessments are like, this is who you are, great, or this is how you show up. How do you want to show up? And there's a huge pivot there that I don't think everybody really gets.
Yeah, it's a little bit nuanced, but it's enough that it's important to think about it that way. Also, any kind of weaponization of these tools is not acceptable. And I do some initial intake process to make sure that people are ready for this, that there's enough of a safe space, because especially CliftonStrengths is very vulnerable. Like it can be, at least. Yeah. Like it gets really to your core. And so there has to be enough psychological safety within the team or within the, the person themselves to be able to use them effectively.
I like that idea. Don't weaponize these tools. Yeah. I think, again, any tool that a leader might try to use can be weaponized, right? I think there's a lot of those tools that can be just used inappropriately. In one of the leadership classes I have at Whitworth, we do a lot of emotional intelligence work, and one of my students was like self-confessed. He said his toxic trait is he will gaslight people. And in learning some of these things that he was learning about his own emotional intelligence, but also how people are, he admitted, he's like, I could use this wrongly, right? Like I could use this information to manipulate people, essentially. And I think there's a big caution with that.
Yeah, Where did you go with that? Oh, that might need to be a sidebar
no,
conversation.
yeah.
That's a big.
I think what I did at first is I just
Yeah, you might need to talk to Stephanie.
How I handled it in the moment was celebrating him, at least acknowledging that's where he is at, and that admitting you have a problem is the first step. Yeah. So jump in. Did you say you wanted to jump in? Yeah.
I was going to say that's exactly what emotional intelligence is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Knowing not only how do I behave, but how does my behavior reflect in others and how they behave around me.
Yeah.
And so when you say manipulating people, yes, you are manipulating people. I can approach you in a specific way that will get you to do what I want you to do, and that is emotional intelligence. If you use it for right or wrong, good or evil, that is who you are in your values at your core.
Yeah.
So
I really am not going to do a good job of summarizing.
yeah.
That,
So
we'll
her
just have to-
her comments are about emotional intelligence. And that's where I was going to bring it back to.
Yeah.
Again, we're looking to increase emotional intelligence for positive outcomes,
Right.
not negative outcomes.
Right.
And so as long as we're in that state, we're looking for self-awareness, self-management, and then how that interacts socially with others, what other people need and how they show up, and then how those two things collide.
Okay. I have a curveball question.
Oh.
And so I will
I need more
apologize in advance if this is outside your
okay. Go for it.
So one of the conversations, you talked about emotional intelligence is something we're a lot more aware of. Something that we're becoming more aware of is neurodivergence and how people either on the spectrum or with ADHD or anything like that, how they show up. Do these assessments, specifically the ones you're familiar with, do they account for that? Have they changed over time as we've become more aware of these things?
We've become more aware of it for sure. I skipped over the science behind the assessment itself for CliftonStrengths. And I also think it's fair to mention that this mostly has been known as StrengthsFinder. So StrengthsFinder 2.0 is what most people know it as.
Got it.
That's the assessment. So Gallup got involved sometime in the 90s and developed the assessment that we take. It's a double-blind assessment, and so it's really the only psychometric assessment that's meant to be self-administered.
Yeah, because a lot of them you could give the best. You're like, I'm totally this kind of a person.
Yeah. Or it reads like a Cosmo quiz and you can tell what the answers are going to be.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I want this category.
I always, when I take a self-assessment, I'm like, I want somebody else to do this for me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to be
Which
honest.
can be a strategy.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, so the assessment itself is, people don't love taking it. I'm not going to lie. It takes about 45 minutes.
Ooh, love it.
We should have had you take it before.
Well, now I've already written down. I'm going to have my leadership students take these.
Right.
Yeah, I'm in it.
And so, I lost my train of thought. So it takes about 45 minutes start to finish, or can take up to 45 minutes. It's timed. And so that could be an answer to your question too. We can turn off the timer because to accommodate some of the neurodivergence, but also it's meant to get at the core. It's meant to be your gut reaction.
Okay.
And it asks questions in a very similar way, a very similar cadence. And you're like, I already answered that question like 5 times, but it's purposeful.
Maybe the problem is a lot of neurodivergent people aren't going to finish it. They'll be like, oh.
Well, and it will tell us, it will give you a little thing that says hey, you didn't answer enough questions or you answered them too fast. If you're just clicking, it will say hey, that's not, that's not cool. So it takes into account even the timing.
That's actually
Or there's a
fascinating.
neutral category, and it's way beyond. I am not an analytical person, but the metadata is available, and it is really interesting to look at. But it's a pretty reliable assessment.
Okay. So
that's one of the other reasons I love
even though it may not directly take into account neurodivergence or anything like that, the way it's designed should at least provide it's still a reflective, response. This is how you are as a person, regardless of your.
So it's getting a little personal for a moment. I recently realized I have ADHD.
Oh, welcome to the club, buddy. I did
you.
too. Yeah, 2 years ago. It's been great.
I had no idea because I've always, and I know this is really popular for women in their 40s or 50s, but I've always been a high performer. I've always done a ton of work all at the same time. So I've always channeled that ADHD in very, very positive ways.
Yeah.
I'm the first first kid, first daughter, all the things. So like I just never even realized it until I moved out of the corporate world. It didn't have as much structure and pressure to perform. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, these things make sense.
Yeah.
And so one of my top 5 strengths is activator, which is liking to start things, being good at helping other people start things and take action on things. Hello, ADHD.
How about finishing those things, though?
No, I need someone else. I need a partner. I need an awesome person to come alongside of me and partner with me to help me finish. Or I have to put a lot of brain power and a lot of energy and a lot of structure and discipline, which are none of the things that I like to do.
So, I mean, I think that's a really good, like that really brings that question to the front. Like you knew these things about yourself, whether or not you knew you had ADHD, there were things about yourself that you knew that were, you maybe considered traits of ADHD. It's also not surprising that you ended up in the small business entrepreneurship space because so many folks that are neurodivergent do end up in that space, right? Like they call ADHD the entrepreneur's disease or something. Like I don't know if that's the right way.
I function better in the corporate world. So I'm still learning.
Well, but that's a
I'm still learning how to function as my own person in my own space.
I don't want to say it's a masking thing, but it's definitely like a coping mechanism.
Without getting like too personal or too deep right
What was this conversation about
what
again? What are we doing here? All right, so.
But I re-looked at I have my book still from way long time ago, over 20 years ago. I won't say the day or the year, but Activator was one of the top 5 that haven't changed the whole time that I've taken it. And it's number 3 for me.
All right, so in our last few moments together, we will go back on topic.
Okay.
You mentioned at the beginning something about how you had done this assessment, but you didn't internalize it. And I want to talk about that. How do you do that? So you've done it, you've taken it, you understand the value, maybe you're even putting it into the agenda, whatever the case may be, but how do you actually internalize it?
I'm going to say time. You got to spend time with it. One of the strategies that I recommend post, whether I'm working with an individual, doing like a coaching series or in a team, is to put it on your calendar. Put 30 minutes per week on your calendar to spend time learning about the results, practicing, and there's a lot of really great resources, at least in the Gallup space. So everyone that takes it with me gets access, it's actually called Access, gets a account in their portal, and there's millions of learning resources, and there's a pathway like an e-learning that you can start with once you have the basic information, but you have to spend time with it.
Okay, I love that. Is there a book or a series of books that would support that?
So many.
What are your favorites?
Well, my favorite is First Break All the Rules, going way back, but that's very corporate. But I do love it because it's about change and managing change and not going with what you should be doing, but going with what you want to be doing.
Yeah.
But strengths-based leadership is one of the ones that I use a lot, especially with teams and leaders. But the original book that Dr. Clifton wrote himself was, that might not be true, but at least a contributor to the book is Now Discover Your Strengths. So it's an oldie, but a really good one. They're not publishing the books as much anymore. They're really focused on the tools in the portal.
Okay.
So you can still buy the books online, and it comes with an assessment if you want to take it. But I would say that the internal resources, the top 5 report, the 34 report, and so on internally in their portal are more up to date.
Okay. And of all the things that you've learned about yourself through doing this work, what surprised you the most and what was your favorite thing?
Gosh, I asked that question in my workshop, so that is not fair.
So no one's asked you then?
No one's asked me that in a
Love
long
this.
time. What surprised me the most? What surprised me the most was, well, it's been so long since I've taken it, I'm not sure. I think okay, here, I'm going to answer it a little differently than
Yeah.
what my teams usually do. What surprised me the most is how often I can come back to just the top 5 and have new and different takeaways.
Oh,
I can have learning, like just a few weeks ago, I learned something about a ranger is one of my top 5 that I had never thought of before.
That's
in
fascinating.
all this 20 years. So I'm having personal growth based on my top 5 strengths after 20 years of really using it with other people. And so in at least almost now 10 of really solidly internalizing it and using it for personal growth and development. And the other, I just had a new discovery, which
Love
is
it.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me that can still happen after all this time. What was the other part?
Is that,
Surprise?
what's your favorite thing that you've learned?
My favorite thing is the connection that it's, I finally had my husband take it about 10 years ago.
Nice.
And the growth that we've had from it, and the using the same tools that I use in teams and with leaders, we've been able to use together, and just understanding each other so much more, and being allowing for both of our thoughts and feelings and behaviors to show up. We have 2 that kind of conflict, and so none of them are opposite, but they're as opposite as you can get. And now I understand that so much better. And if we would have done that, we've been married for 25 years now, so like if we would have done that a long time ago, just think of the arguments that we would have.
I love it when these tools, anything that we take from the corporate world actually has like these uses in your personal life or in your interpersonal, relationships. So when you can use a tool like CliftonStrengths, you called it Strength Finder 2.0.
That's how it's been known until like 10 years
But
ago.
when you can use that with your partner to, thrive there, it's the same. To me, it feels like when you learn something in your own private personal development that then you can apply in the business world.
Yeah.
Like I
and
love it.
parenting's the other part. Like I use it in parenting all the time. My kids are older now, but I had to be really self-aware of my own things that I wasn't, so that I could then be purposeful in the way that I use them with my kids and not push my own thoughts on them.
Self-awareness is another big thing I think that you get out of these things, and you have to be willing, or at least acknowledge that you want to be more self-aware or you're not very self-aware. I think unfortunately the people who need this the most are not self-aware enough to know they need these things the most. Yeah. All right. So, that might be my last question.
Okay.
You're on a team. So some of us in this room have left the entrepreneurial world or the small business world and have jumped back into working for other people and joining a team. Let's say we recognize the need for something like this in our team. What would be a good strategy for pitching this or bringing it up?
I think sharing your own personal experience is always very compelling, but there's a lot of research, and Gallup has done a lot of really good work about why CliftonStrengths works in the corporate world, what business outcomes you can expect, reduce turnover, increase productivity, increased collaboration and innovation, which I think a lot of our businesses are in a space of that. So you can have those collectively as a team. You can also have those personally as an individual.
Yeah, so maybe it's like pitching it as an ROI, like here's what you can expect to get out of this.
Inside the corporate world, definitely. You have to have ROI, otherwise it's not productive.
I don't even think most people know what that means, but yeah. But you can say it, like, what's the
Return on
ROI on that?
investment,
We went corporate-y again. All right.
Yeah, sorry.
I think that's,
Awesome.
okay, any last questions, last thoughts as we wrap this thing up?
I think I would just say that regardless of like whatever tool you like to use it.
Yeah.
Like, don't let your lawnmower sit in the back of the garage while you're cutting your grass with scissors.
Yes.
Like, bring it out and use it. Internalize it. Make it work for you and the people around you.
Has anybody written a book about this called Cutting Grass with Scissors? That would be
I
fantastic.
wrote an article about it.
Did you?
Yeah. So I was like, please stop. Stop this madness. I have a lawnmower available for you.
Oh, fantastic. All right, round of applause for Heather for showing up.
Thank you, guys.
It was amazing. One more big shout out for Slab Visuals and Fellow for supporting the event and hosting the event. So round of applause for those folks.